Hello and welcome to New Day. I'm your host, Dr. Rickey McCray. I'm so excited that you are here with us. As a matter of fact, I like to say it's not a coincidence, not an accident. You're here on purpose. And I believe that God has something for you. Here at New Day, we like to say that your healing is worth fighting for. And as we begin to think about what's worth fighting for, I believe relationships are worth fighting for. And especially our relationship with our parents when we need to reconnect. So as I was thinking about who I needed to bring on to talk about reconnecting in the relationship with their parent, I thought about my good friend, my boy. This is Pastor Antwaun Johnson. We have him on and I'm excited. Thanks, man, for being on, man. We appreciate you being here.
Man, I am elated to be here. So thank
elated.
you.
So we clown all the time. That's why I love this brother. But this brother is a strong brother who is a husband. He is a great father, a great pastor, great leader, entrepreneur. So we're so grateful to have him. And so the last probably now, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years, we've been having conversations about fathers and about men, and we also hold each other accountable when it comes to being men, husbands, and fathers. And so we've been on each other's journey. We walking side by side as we were reconnecting with our fathers. Yeah. And so I said I wanted to bring you on so you could talk a little bit about your journey. So I want to bring people up to speed kind of who Pastor Antwaun is. So I know you had a strong mother, strong grandparents. Tell us a little bit, describe a little bit about that relationship growing up with these strong figures in your life.
It was amazing. Grew up in a single parent home. My mom, she was top notch, hands down. And my grandparents, where my mother had to go and work or whatever the case may be, my grandparents were right there in the midst to kind of help bring up the rear, if you will. And the relationship that we have between my grandparents and I is so powerful. Yeah. I don't even refer to them as my grandparents per se. Like when I'm calling out to them, I just call them mama, daddy, and everybody. I call my mama Ma. I call my grandmother mama.
Okay.
So it all works together. Everybody know who I'm calling out to.
And your grandfather has got to be one of those just strong Black brothers, man, who every time I've met him, he has a presence when he shows up, man. So I'm sure that had a major impact on your life.
Absolutely.
So I wondered, because I started talking to Antwaun about different family situations, and I noticed he never really brought up his father. So one day I was like, man, what is your dad alive? Like, what's going on? Why you never bring this dude up? So describe for us, what was your relationship like with your father when you were younger?
I believe it was pretty hit or miss. Okay. He was there. When he was there, he wasn't. He never lived in the home with me that I know of anyway. Right. And so either he was on the other side of town in a different city, whatever the case may be. And he just wasn't there like I felt that I needed him to be there.
Right. Now, what about we both play sports. What about sports? You also sang in the choir. You did other activities. Did he show up to that? And if he didn't, what did that make you feel like?
After so many moments of disappointment, and then when you do show up, it was always kind of a little nerve-wracking at points because it was this phrase that he had that really always used to get underneath my skin because he would show up and hadn't done anything, but then my son. And I'm like, and then he puff his chest out with it, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, really? So, because I seen my mom, she was out there. She was you need a definition of hustler. My mama was a hustler. She went to work, she grind, and she did what it took to provide. And then where she may fall in short, again,
Right.
my grandparents would step in. We had a close-knit family. We have a close-knit family.
Right.
And
I think it's important too, that irritation, I wrote in my book some things we're fighting for, that my dad would make these cameo appearances.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
He would come in for the photo op. He was like, huh. And people like, oh man, your dad been there this whole. No, he hasn't. He came for the photo. Okay, y'all. So I think that's important to know.
Right.
And I wonder the effect that it had on you and what you thought of him moving forward. Is there some point where you kind of pushed him to the side, maybe in your mind, and you started going on in life?
Absolutely. A lot of relationships, you think parents, or when children don't have a cohesive relationship with their parents, I think the mother usually gets the blame game on that one, where she's talking in his ear, this, that, and other. I formulated my own opinion of my dad based on his own personal actions. I preached a sermon Sunday, your actions speak louder than words. And sometimes when he would say one thing, but he wouldn't show up to kind of back that thing up.
So as I think about that, obviously at some point you decided that you wanted to pursue something with him. So what caused you to want to change your mind and pursue a better relationship with him? And how old were you when you decided to do that?
I would have to say I was in my mid to late 30s.
Okay.
And I think that relationship was birthed out of, I had recently gotten married.
Okay.
And
To your beautiful wife.
yes, the queen of my life. Yes.
Yeah.
And so we had recently gotten married, and just to see the relationship that she had with her stepfather, not biological, but I mean, they communicated like clockwork every day, it seemed like. And at some point you begin to long for that type of relationship as well with your own biological parents. And so at that particular moment, I started like, hey, maybe we should start mending these broken pieces. And the reality of it is, for me to be a productive father, I think that I needed to be whole. A productive husband, I needed to be whole. And there were some fractured pieces that were hanging out there that was keeping me from being what I felt as a whole man. And
so that is so powerful, I think, for men, especially we as men. We're walking around broken, like you said, fractured, and we're trying to be whole, or at least pretend to be whole.
Absolutely.
Right. And the reality is that you can fool some people some of the time, but you can't fool yourself, and you can't fool those people who are close to you. And so it becomes important. So tell me, so you see this relationship with your wife, and big shout out to Tawana. What's up? What's up? And so I want to make sure that you see this relationship with her and her and her stepdad. What about that relationship caused you to long more for something similar with your dad?
I mean, just to see the interaction that they would have. This was not her stepdad. This was her dad. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure at some point you all will explore that conversation. But just to witness that, it was wonder. It was wonderful, and it just kind of made me want to also have that same type of relationship with my dad.
And was it also the communication? Was something about that deep communication that you have that, like, man, you long for something like that with your father?
Because at some point a man need another man to just kind of run some things by. You know what I'm saying? And my grandfather, yes, I do that. But at the same time, you want your dad in the picture to be able to have those same type of conversations with.
Well, this is good. I hope y'all are enjoying this. What we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about your pursuit your pursuit of having a better relationship with your father. When we come back, we're going to talk about that. Don't miss what's next.
Silk offers a variety of blends and roasts that are both rich and robust. We roast to order and ship out our coffee fresh daily to our customers.
You can purchase Silk Coffee at silkcoffeecompany.com or visit us on Facebook and Instagram at Silk Coffee Co. to place your order. And don't forget to always sip in style with Silk Sipware. Silk Coffee Company, offering the perfect escape in every sip.
Hello, my name is Andre Hogue, and I'm here to give you your Money Matters tip of the week. And today we're talking about life insurance, all right? What an exciting topic, right? You got to have a money philosophy around everything you do. And the thing I want you to think about with your money philosophy with life insurance is if I don't leave a financial legacy, history will erase your name, okay? It's important that you leave your family members and those that are left behind in a much better situation. So we got to understand the purpose of life insurance. It's not to insure my life, but to protect my income to dependents. So for those of you who have children, those of you who have spouses, that you understand that you don't need to pay on life insurance your whole life. Life insurance is if you die soon. Investments is if you live long. So you got to have both. If you ever get in a situation where you're paying for life insurance your whole life, the only person that benefits from that is the life insurance company. So I want to encourage you to get you a great, affordable term policy and invest in mutual funds, invest in a Roth IRA. So if you die soon, your family has the life insurance, but if you live long, you have money to live on and leave behind. And if you do that, that's how you position your family for financial freedom. A GoFundMe is not life insurance.
Welcome back. We are talking to Pastor Antwaun about him pursuing his relationship with his father. And so we're so grateful to have you, and thanks for sharing so far. I have some more questions about this pursuit because I think that most people hear something like this and think, it's not possible for me. My situation is too bad. They've done way too much. I'm not forgiving to move past that. So I wondered for you, was there something either mentally, emotionally that you had to even get beyond or overcome or let go of or tear down just to even start that initial conversation with getting, having a better relationship with your father?
Oh, absolutely. Just hands down, I think you and I have discussed it on numerous occasions. I'm a light switch brother.
Yeah.
1 minute, we good, I'm on. If you cross me, I'm off. It's off. And so I had that on my own personal battles in that respect to be able to jump over, to be able to say when my dad makes me frustrated or mad, irritated, whatever the case may be, that I'm still going to stand my ground and press forward, even if I get hurt in the process.
I love the way you use the word the process, because too often people think that this is an overnight thing, right? They're like, okay, I should make that one phone call. They should forgive me. I should forgive them. We move and everything is, happily ever after. When the reality is it's never happily ever after like that in that sense. So I wonder for you, tell me what kept coming up? Like, I know it, like trying to reconnect with my dad, there were some things that kept coming up that I kept having to struggle with or get beyond. Was there anything that you particularly said, man, this thing keeps coming up and it's really causing this reconnection to be difficult?
Early on, my dad was an alcoholic and just to be playing with it. And sometimes that would get in the way, if he has been drinking, or whatever the case may be. I think sometimes those were stumbling blocks, hindrances that would stand in the way. And me personally, I become super irritated with people who are intoxicated, high, whatever the case may be. And I think a part of that comes also from my background, from being in law enforcement at some point or another. And
so when you saw him like that, what was the emotion that came forth? You see him, or you're talking to him, and you can hear drunk, high. You know, what emotion came up for you?
Especially when it was planned times that we had prescribed out, if you will.
Yeah.
So I wasn't important enough for you to be clean and clear and sober-minded to have some conversations or another. So that was kind of my feelings in that moment.
Right. So can you talk to us, especially if in these moments that are difficult, where you just want to throw in the towel and walk away from it? For you, what kept you pursuing it? Even after he was high, he was drunk, and you was, upset, frustrated.
I think as you get older, you begin to mature a little bit, and when I take those moments of self-introspective look, and I see my flaws, my faults, my frailties, and sometimes you have to recognize those things for you to be better and to move forward. And when I started recognizing my flaws, I know that those things were also a hindering block. So I couldn't just put it all on him. I had to take earnest of some of that mess that I had in me as well.
So since you've gone there, I think this is important, right? Because it's easy to point out everybody else's stuff, right?
Absolutely.
We are subject matter experts in everybody else's problems, except our own. Exactly. Oftentimes, those are blind spots. So what were some of the blind spots for you, issues that you had that stood in the way of you pursuing this relationship with your dad?
Attitude, one. Quick-tempered. Then just the baggage of times past. So I'm walking around with, like Santa Claus, with a big old bag of baggage.
Santa Claus.
And here it is. I'm like, either you're going to let this go at some point or another, or you're going to continue to walk through life holding on to this baggage. And guess what? It's weighing you down.
Right.
How many of us recognize that when you're trying to get somewhere, the fastest way to get there is with the least amount of load? And so carrying all that extra baggage, that kind of was a hindering block. And so at some point, I just had to realize it was time to shed some of that. And I will say, the reality of helping to shed that came through our conversations as well. I think for his book, for your book, I feel like I was one of the test tube babies in that book.
He was one of the first experiments for some things that we're fighting for. Right. No, and I think you're right. And especially, oftentimes we try to approach these things from a very practical sense, but also there's spiritual aspects of this. What about this spiritually? Like, what about your own spiritual disciplines, spiritual habits, do you think put you in a position to pursue this further, even though you had some roadblocks?
Certainly having a prayer life and, reading my word, just kind of, those were the things that kind of helped me stay grounded. Right. When I get in my word, it has an effect on me personally that helps me to change. My attitude changes, my personality changes, and all for the better. Right. And the deeper I dive into God's word, it helped me to be able to push past some of the stuff that was stumbling blocks and things that were standing in the way. Personal stuff, and let alone someone else's baggage. And
I think too, when we talk about that prayer life, and I think it is so important. Oftentimes we think that prayer is about either changing God's mind or getting God to do a thing, when the reality, real prayer is about God changing your heart.
Absolutely.
And that's why, I call this soul work, right? this is trying to reconnect with somebody who has hurt you and harmed you deeply. You can't do that on your own will, with your own strength. You have to do that with God.
Absolutely.
And so I want to hear, just tell me, we're getting ready to go and take a break, but tell me a little bit about what did God reveal to you as you were praying about even just this or other things that God kept revealing to you about yourself and about the situation?
I think at some level, it really showed me how selfish I was. God shared with me that you're selfish and your reasoning for wanting relationship at some points were very selfish.
Oh, wow.
Just to have somebody there and maybe to have them there to treat them bad based on past history.
Yeah.
And the reality is when we get into relationships with people, we can't keep holding people hostage with the stuff that they did in the past. And so that was one of the things that God revealed to me, that it's time to let some of this go.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to be selfish about this, you can continue to stay separate. But when you're really ready to get this together and to have true relationship and true friendship, because I believe that my father and I, at this point, we have established a friendship.
Right.
And if you're not going to get to that place,
Right.
again, I think I shared the scripture before. And if you want to be a friend or have friends, you must first show yourself friendly. And I know we don't normally think of relationships with our parents as friendship relationships, but that same connotation applies to everything, because that means that I have to do some work.
That's right.
On the front end. I can't always just expect somebody else to do the working. And then things begin to manifest. I have to work on my end as well.
And I think it's important here that you said something early on, that when you saw your wife's relationship, you wanted to have the kind of relationship she had. But really, you just wanted, as selfish reasons, for somebody for you to talk to, but you never really thought about what you could be to him.
Absolutely.
And so you, in that revelation,
Selfish.
That's right, selfish.
Boy.
So in the revelation, you realize this is not just about what my father can give me, but it's what I can give to him.
Absolutely.
So listen, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about where Pastor Antwaun is now with his father, and just the journey and the work that must continue to be done to reconnect, and so we can heal those places in our lives where we're broken. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Hello, everyone. This is Reverend Hazel Owens, pastor and marriage and family therapist, and here's your mental health tip for the week. Anxiety has been on the rise in the recent years, and we can probably attest to many reasons as to why. But some of the things that we could do just in our own space and our own bodies to help us manage anxiety is breathing. Deep breathing techniques like breathing from your belly, holding that breath for 4 seconds, breathing it out slowly, and just focusing on your breath can help reduce symptoms of anxiety in the present moment. Anxiety wants control. And so oftentimes when anxiety is up, it's because we're trying to find control over something that we don't have control over. So the best thing you can do is to focus on what you can control and try not to put too much focus on the things you can't control. That's going to require you centering your mind and centering those thoughts to what is happening in the present. I like to tell my clients, be present wherever your feet are planted. And so if you're struggling to do that, breathing techniques can help, like deep breathing from your belly, box breath, or for my little ones, I like to call it mountain breathing, where you just breathe up the mountain, just take your hand and down, up, down, and do it slowly until you start to feel a calming sensation over your body. That's your nervous system at rest, okay? The other thing, of course, exercise. So getting outside, walking, or doing some sort of physical activity will help reduce anxiety. And of course, prayer. That's another great grounding technique. And it's also a spiritual tool to just bring your mind back to center and focus on what's present. And lastly, I would say gratitude. So try journaling each night and ending your journal with a statement of gratitude to bring your thoughts back to the present moment and refocusing your mind on things that you are grateful for in this season.
Welcome back. We've been talking to Pastor Antwaun Johnson about reconnecting with his father. And what I recognize is when we begin to bring healing to those places where we are broken, where there are gaps in our lives and relationships, that healing begins to have effect on other parts or other relationships in our lives. So, Pastor, you taught me about a particular event that happened where you, your father, your son, y'all go on a camping trip together. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience and what effect did it have on you as a father?
I have what I call my CNCs. I love camping and cruising.
Come on.
So
Yeah.
just to be able to get away and
Right.
to reset, if you will. And I invited my dad down. Hey, let's get out here, get in these woods, and
Right.
have a good time. And it was just a profound experience. And I think that was probably the first kind of vacation, first time that we had really done that. And
Yeah.
I'm in my 40s,
Right.
And it just was monumental.
Yeah.
Not only was it just a good time to share with him, but it was also a good time for him to share with his grandchildren, because he brought my sister's son as well.
Okay.
And so my son, Jamel, and my nephew, they're around the same age. So they had a blast together.
Right.
And it was just a fulfilling type of moment.
Yeah.
Just to know where I was personally from a mental and an emotional perspective, that I could care less at one point if I really had this relationship, to now where we are on this journey and in this process of really having a longing for this and having a good time with it.
So as a father, right, as a husband, can you kind of tell me where you've seen an improvement, growth, maturity as a husband, the father, as a leader, but also kind of as a man? Can you kind of talk a little bit about those areas you've either seen it in yourself or somebody has pointed out your growth, maturity?